G'day and welcome to the Josh Wade Show. My name's Josh Wade. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. We've got an amazing episode for you. We're going to be delving pretty deep into the world of drug addiction, a lot of money and internet fame. It's one hell of an interview. If you want to support us out, you can join our private Facebook group by donating to our Patreon. It helps me pay off these microphones and the new TV that we got. We got a new TV, yep. So help us out, patreon.com/Josh Wade. We do a private live stream every week there. Really great group of people, supportive. You can ask questions, whatever. Everyone's available to chat in there. Thank you to everyone that is helping us out right now. Nigel Munt, welcome to the show.
Okay, Josh.
Now, we met a couple of days ago. Oh, well, I've met you actually when we filmed the Jimmy Jackson, Justin Ryan thing. You're actually, Justin and a bunch of those boys that were our contacts to get Justin on the show, which I still get so many questions about that episode. So that was pretty cool that you were there to see it. But yeah, you've got a very, very interesting story right now. You're in the midst of internet fame and you're sort of involved in Jackson O'Doherty, who, if you don't know, is an online content creator, entertainer, who has a vlog channel right now, and you're inside of that, but you've also got your own videos. So there's sort of this community in Australia right now online that are doing pranks and, pretty outrageous, crazy shit. And they're getting a shitload of views because of it.
Yep.
And I suppose you had a video that came out, how long ago was it?
It was about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. It was a kids versus dad prank war, which, how many views all up did that?
On my page, it's had about 19 million.
19 million.
But we sold it to Viral Hog, and they're managing the video elsewhere. And I think it must be close to 100 million now elsewhere.
Right. So you put up this video pranking the kids.
And the kids pranking me.
Yeah. It does look really staged. I'll give you that. It's definitely not real. But people fucking fell for it and watched it. Yeah, they watched it. I mean, it's more views. It's half of my entire view count, probably what that video got. But your story goes back, much further.
Yep.
You were a lawyer.
I was, yeah.
And you were one of the owners of a massive law firm in Australia called Trilby Misso Lawyers.
Yep.
You sold that. What year did you sell that?
2009, we sold that to Slater and Gordon.
Yep. And how much did that sell for?
57 million.
Yeah, so a lot of money. And at the time, you were going through a divorce. There were a few things around you that were crumbling, and you ended up in the midst of addiction to methamphetamine or crystal meth. So I suppose let's start back at the start. You growing up, where did you grow up?
I was born in Caboolture, and when I was about 10, my mum and dad lived in Caboolture basically their whole life, and mum and dad bought a pub in the country in a place called Breworan, which is about 60 kilometres south of Gladstone. And so we all moved up there when I was 10, which was an amazing place to live. Mum and Dad had the little hotel there, and we had motorbikes and guns and just used to run amok around the town. And then we moved to Rockhampton when I was about 13, and I did my first year of high school at Rockhampton Grammar School. And then Mum and Dad bought a news agency in Bald Hills in Brisbane. We moved down here when I was about 13 going on 14 and went to St Paul's, which is where up until last year all my 5 kids go.
Right. So did you come from money? I mean, if you went to a grammar school or just parents worked hard and you were well off enough?
They were well off, and they were very hard working. As kids we were always brought up around Mum and Dad's business, so it was either the pub or the news agency that they had in North Brisbane. And so, we were comfortable, but not super affluent.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, when did you? By the way, Nigel's on the vape now, so he's got that fucking horrible fucking smoker's cough. How many years have you been smoking for?
I smoked I started smoking when I was like just finishing school.
Yeah.
And I smoked up until my first daughter was born. Then I had about 8 years off.
This is ciggies, by the way.
Durries, bungers. I had about 8 years off, and then I gave up drinking, and then I got, I think sitting around not drinking, I started smoking again, and then I ended up smoking and drinking. So
point is, you've got a highway full of fucking tar in your lungs right now.
Yeah. And I've had 2.5 years off.
Yep.
Again.
Yep. All right. Well, good on you. But we'll get into the reasons for that in a moment. But all right. So you finished high school. When did you decide that you wanted to study law and become a lawyer?
My elder brother is a barrister, and so
that helps.
Yeah. Well, my elder brother is 2 years older than me, but 3 years ahead of me in school.
Yeah.
And he was working as an articled clerk for a law firm in the city. An articled clerk is like an apprentice lawyer. Mm-hmm. They don't have the exact system anymore, but back in the old days, you could start straight out of school, work for 5 years, study at night while you went through with your job, do your uni and your work together, and then become a lawyer at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So when my dad had the news agency, one of the owners at Ctrl+Alt+Del used to come in there every afternoon, and I got to know him because I'd come back from footy training or whatever, and he knew my brother. And he sort of asked my dad what I wanted to do when I finished school, and one thing led to another, and I got a job working there straight out of school.
Right. So did you have to go to university to study?
Yeah, I did.
Then? You had to? Yeah. So you're doing both at the same time. You're working at the law firm and studying.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So how long is that? How long was that degree? 5 years?
Took 5 years.
Right. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, the thing with it was because I was working full-time in a law firm doing actual legal work, the uni was just a complete hassle, you know. All I wanted to do was get on with doing the job.
Do you think that working there helped you get through? Like, did you find university a struggle with the learning side?
Not too bad. I was kind of always just got about a pass mark, but I didn't find it that bad. But it was a massive workload to work full time. Used up all my holidays for studying law. I do all my exams in my work holidays. It wasn't much of a life.
So you pretty much you have a pretty fucking broad understanding of the law, I suppose. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Although for very early in the piece, I started specialising in injury claims. Mm-hmm. You know, so all I really know about is injury cases because that's pretty much the only law I've ever done. Right.
Okay. So you did that, and then when did you've finished your degree and you're a lawyer now.
Yep.
When did buying into Trilby, how did that even work?
Well, basically what happened was there used to be a complete restriction on lawyers advertising in Queensland. They weren't allowed to advertise at all. I think all you could have was like a brass plate with your name on it. Mm-hmm. And basically there was political pressure on lawyers to let their members advertise because of, and this is really super boring, but it's all about conveyancing, you know, buying and selling houses. Mm-hmm. So what happened was the law, under pressure from the ACCC, the Law Society let their members, all their members, advertise. And so basically what happened was we were dabbling in injury claims at that time, and then all of a sudden we were able to basically go carte blanche on however we wanted to advertise. And Trilby-Misso, and I had a lot to do with it. We were one of the pioneers of advertising in injury work in Queensland. And basically, the results were phenomenal, and the business grew very quickly on the back of that.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, I guess I'll get Connor in the edit to throw up some of it because we'll get into Logan Law in a moment, which was another one. But some of the advertising there was very, I suppose it was outrageous, but at the same time, it caught a lot of eyes and it worked. And people know what it is now for essentially what is a law firm that's in, a suburb in Brisbane, Logan. But anyway, okay, so you've done that now. How long were you there for? And then,
mate, I started there when I was 17, 18. So I came to schoolies down the coast here. As soon as that was over, I started working. I worked until I was about 21, just running around doing real shit kicker stuff. And then I got an opportunity to work on actual cases in the office from when I was about 21. And I kind of pushed into the injury stuff because I hated everything but the injury work.
Right.
So I really wanted to build that up so that I could just do that. And then we were the first law firm in Queensland to do TV advertising. And typically leading up to that, we might have got, 4 or 5 cases a month. We did TV advertising, and it'd never been done before, and it was an absolute, it was like bombing a dam for fish, it was unbelievable.
Was Trilby Misso only injury or anything?
No, we weren't at that stage, but as time went on and as the success of the injury stuff increased, we went completely to injuries.
Yep.
By the time we sold it, it was 100% injury work.
Cunts can't fucking look after themselves, basically.
No,
Oh, right.
Accidents keep happening, unfortunately.
What about the dark side to law and sort of the, I know you mentioned that your brother was a barrister and, there's obviously a lot of concerns that there's, a lot of people, like politics or I suppose any other industry at all, there's people in each other's back pockets and, you mentioned that, and like I said, we'll get into this further, but you were charged with a criminal offence in regards to your usage and I'm not sure, was it distribution?
Yeah, use and supply.
Of ice. You say, and quite a bit since we've interviewed you in another series, which some of you guys will get to see later on, but that you were very lucky, very, 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 very lucky to get out.
Yeah.
I'm probably crossing the line asking this, but fuck it, I'll ask it anyway. Do you think that has to do with the fact of who you were and the people that you knew?
I think probably, if anything, if you go back and look at the cases, being a lawyer makes it harder to stay out of jail.
Okay.
Because the basis is should have known better. You're an officer of the court. You're you're in the system and you should know better. And look, I think the main reason that I didn't go to jail, well, there were a few main reasons, but one of them was that it was obvious that the conduct that I was involved in was really to do with being hopelessly lost in an addiction and just completely lost my way.
Right.
And by the time, so I got charged in August 2012 and I was dealt with in April 2015. So it was 2.5, 3.5, whatever years it was on being on bail. And during that entire period, I continued to practice law. And in fact, during the period that I was on bail, we established Logan Law.
Were you using it all during this time? Or at least dabbled, or
I had a few relapses in the early pieces because basically, I went from using ice every single day effectively.
How often, by the way? All day, every day?
No, not all day, every day, but because you'd have to sleep, but occasionally. But what I would do is, you'd get to the point where you're so dependent on it. If you don't have it, you can't function. So you'd get up, you'd have a bit, and then you'd get sort of the day out of the way. Then you'd have more when you got home, because that was the way that drug. That's the way that drug works.
Do you think? I'm not sure what exactly. Most people would guess once you've sold Trilby Misso and you've split that up. You're sitting on a bit of money and you've already had a bit of money there.
Yeah.
Did money ever become an issue when you were using?
No, and that was the
part
other
of the problem.
And that was the other reason why I didn't go to jail, because even though I was convicted of trafficking, it was obvious that, the judge's comments, it wasn't like as if I ever went out and tried to make money out of drugs. There was somebody around us who was very actively trafficking or trying to traffic drugs. And my offending was more sort of getting a bit too close to what he was doing rather than running my own myself. I didn't need the money. The crazy thing was that this particular guy got out of jail. As soon as he's out of jail, people are watching him.
Yep.
He's around us. And I got caught up in the surveillance that was going on about him. And I think, and I've spoken to the police officer, the main police officer, his name's Nigel, he's become sort of a mate of mine. He just said, they just couldn't believe what they were seeing because, here in the middle of it all, you got me, and I'm going out buying drugs, bringing them home for my partner and I to use in amongst all of this surveillance that they're doing about Craig, this guy and all of his mates. So I sort of got caught up in that web of it.
Is that a scary underbelly to be in?
Yeah, well, there was some real serious concerns about all of that. This Craig guy that's the father of basically my stepson. He's got a very nasty history of having committed some fairly atrocious, violent offences, a lot of bank robberies. Sort of bad guy. I don't know.
Fuck. All right.
Yeah, but and that was kind of the way the irony of it all was that I'd started a relationship with his ex. He was finishing a very long jail sentence for a big import of drugs in the Northern Territory, and he didn't know about me. And then when he found out about me, he was pissed off, and there were threats made. I was going to, the lawyer was going in the ground. I was going to be dead, and blah blah blah. And so I was genuinely quite concerned about it. And
as you fucking probably should.
Yeah. Started sleeping, with a shotgun and blah blah blah. And then basically what happened was, the irony, I suppose, of it was that my father went and saw a police officer who was a friend of my younger sister in Toowoomba and said, "This guy's getting out of jail. We're sort of worried, like what he might do, da 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 da." And they said, "Well, we can't surveil the bloke 24 hours a day," which was kind of a little bit ironic because that's exactly what they did do. So I think on reflection, I was probably pretty safe because he was being watched the whole time.
What is your relationship with him now?
He is strange.
Am I going to get killed for putting this on the show?
Well, I told...
What's that? Really?
100%, yeah. Yeah, you're in real danger now.
Don't fuck with me like that. I don't know if you know, but I smoked weed for 2 years. I've got schizophrenic paranoia. Really?
No. Look, I get phone calls from him, and I don't know.
How would he feel that you just shared that information about him then?
I don't think he'd care.
No. All right. Well, that's okay. As long as you feel that's fucking me too. But anyway, that's a part of your story.
Yeah.
You've got caught up in that world.
Yeah.
And obviously back to that issue is that for you, I guess your case was a little bit different to a lot of other people. You've come from an area where you're serving the community with law, and then, you've made money. You've sort of have this interesting position where a lot of people that are using ICE don't have the money, so they resort to other crimes, which people that we've interviewed on the show before, they've gone to petty crimes and robbing people and stuff like that to be able just to make enough money to get that next hit. So for you, it's been a bit easier in terms to get on and continue that addiction. So, congratulations. And how long have you been clean for now?
Well, basically 5 years. I haven't had any.
Now, for that, because I understand, and I've dealt with my own addictions before. I guess we all have them in small scale or large scale. But we spoke the other day, and your mindset when you first started using it, because your ex-partner was using it for a very long time, and you were in a world, two worlds where you were trying to get that person to stop, but also you felt like you were maybe enabling them.
Yeah, 100%.
When you're in those relationships, were there a lot of fights if she couldn't get it? And it was
look, it was really it was really chaotic.
This is the mother of your children as well.
Yeah. And look, it's a constant battle, and it's a journey that she's been on for a very long time. And so you do that, you sort of start out, I'm going to be, I had absolutely no exposure to drugs prior to this relationship. Really, because I hardly ever even smoked dope. I didn't like it, or pot or whatever you call it. I didn't like it. I made up for it with enormous drinking efforts, but and so then basically what happened was you sort of find out that this person has that this person in your life has a problem, and then you set out to help it. But it's very hard. I feel for anybody who has close loved ones who struggle with substance abuse, because tough love, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's all easy to say, but it's very, very hard to do.
Well, yeah, and like we mentioned before in the piece that we shot was, and my question is, how does a man that is experiencing their partner, their soulmate, the one they love the most, the mother of their children, see their wife going through hell, physically, mentally, hell, with a drug? How do you then turn to that? And then, you mentioned that you thought that you were strong-willed enough and smart enough that you could not get addicted to something that is chemically addictive. You're smarter than that.
Yeah, no. I look back on that and I can't believe that and it was a situation.
But what was the process? How did you believe that? How did
not a very well thought out one. I mean, that's simple
Did you
as
just
that.
pick it up one day?
Yeah, I did. Like I'd been around it. It had been around me for years and years and years. I'd actually paid for it. I'd bought it, but I'd never ever touched it. And then there was one weekend, and it was, you know, it was when I was returning back into working. So I had a farm out west of Gympie, which was an hour and a half past Gympie, so it's hell of a long way away. Yep. And I was working down the Gold Coast. I was working in Brisbane. I was driving to the farm. I was coming back to the Gold Coast. Then I'd get to the farm, and there'd be a stack of work to do. It was a full-on, big, proper working farm. And one weekend I can remember just sort of thinking, shit, there's no way I'm going to be able to work all weekend. I'm so stuffed. And no amount of Red Bull is going to do the trick. And, you know, that was when I decided I'll just use a bit of speed for that night. You know, it's just in the house, you know, and it was as simple as that. It was that well thought out. And then basically...
That is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, well, that's true how it happened. And I thought, but I'm only going to use it this weekend because I've got to get this out of the way.
Did you know how... well, yeah, you fucking did know how addictive
of course
it was,
I did, yeah. I mean, I'm somebody... I've been addicted to fishing, mate. I've been addicted to golf. I get... You know, I get addicted to anything so quickly. So, you know, the stupidity of it still you know.
No, it's not. It isn't that. Then it's not stupidity. It's this addictive nature that totally overrides any logical thought. Which is, you know, it's not stupid. It's that's the, I don't know, the illness is of addiction. I have an addictive personality to an extent where, you know, if I like a certain type of food, then I'll eat that food every night for dinner until I fucking can't stand it anymore, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Little things like that. So it seems like you had that on a larger scale, and you know we'll keep going on with the addiction stuff, but then, you know, that looks like where this internet stuff has gone into, because for a lot of people out there, this is a very, very bizarre thing. For how old are you now?
47.
47. So for a 47-year-old man to go, okay, I'm going to be on Facebook making pranks and sketch videos and stuff like that now, whether that be for your other business venture, which we will talk about later, regardless, that's an odd thing. Most people your age probably don't even understand, are still learning how the fuck Facebook works.
Yep.
And you're on there getting, you know, 19 million views, shaving your kids' heads off as a prank, right? So this is where this whole story just becomes fucking...
Too weird.
Not weird, it's just fascinating, and I think it's fucking excellent. So, all right, we're back on the thing. You've taken speed for the first time. Did you get much work on the farm done that day?
Yeah, while I was awake.
Yeah.
Mate, anyway, and I had it. And it was, I think I can't remember if I had ice or I had speed, because it was in that, there was a transitional period where you used to be able to get old style speed, which doesn't have doesn't have that power, that addictive power of pure shard crystal sort of stuff.
I'd heard that as well, that there was a lot of people in the beginning, people that I knew that were a bit older than what I was before crystal meth was a thing like it is today. That a lot of people were taking it thinking that it was speed. And it wasn't. It was. So anyway.
So I think that really changed a lot for people, because with the crystal came the serious psychoses, you know, and things like that go with it, the self-harm from picking, stuff like that. And so basically I had it, and my plan was I'll just have it for this weekend, and then I'm just going to stop, because I know how dangerous it is, you know. And it was quoted in court. I had it, I felt 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and I was like, shit, how long's this been going on, you know? And then I said, I got to stop.
All right. When you say you feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof, what does that entail? Like you've taken the hit.
Oh, I just feel euphoric.
You breathe it out, and then like when you say...
I just swallowed it, and so I just ingested it. Yeah. But it just... And I don't want to do an ad for ice, but and this is why the drug is so dangerous.
Because it's so fucking good. It's like heroin or anything.
Yeah. It's so good. And then you know, when you first have it, you know, you've got, you know... It was just an amazing feeling to be on it initially, initially, for the first few months or something. And then, but my plan was, you know, I'm going to stop that weekend, and then I'm going to stop at the end of the week, and look, I'll just have a bit more, but I've really got to stop, and I'll stop next week, and then I'm going to stop at my birthday, and then I'm going to stop at the end of the financial year, and I just never stopped.
Right, and how long did this go on for?
I was on it on a pretty much daily basis from about November of 2011 until August 2012. So I condensed it into a short period. I mean, there are people out there obviously who've been using it for 20 years, or using speed, then later ice for 20 odd years, but I just had a short period of use of it.
When did the side effects start to come in, and what were those side effects?
Initially, I think I said to you the other day, initially, things were good. Like I was getting stacks of work done. I was thinking clearly. I had this unlimited energy. And it's a bit like that Limitless show. I had this amazing energy to do all these things, and I was thinking fast, and I could, a lot of work I'd do would be dictate. So I'd be dictating notes and
Was this
doing
the drug
documents.
making you think this? Or,
Yeah.
or could you actually sit back now and go, I did a lot of work
And
then?
I mean, I reflected on work I did then and looked at it, and it came up, 2 years later where I'd done something, and I knew that I'd done it when I was, affected, and it was
Spot
top
on.
notch. Yeah.
Okay, so
it was.
okay.
But the thing with it is that. But then, of course, what happens is you sort of, you did. Let's say you go up a crest, and then you get over the other side of it, and then things just start getting out of control. And for instance, you start sort of, you've got to wake up at 8 o'clock, and you wake up at 3 o'clock that afternoon, falling asleep at the desk. And when I was charged, which was in August of 2012, I fairly soon after that, I knew that the only way I was going to avoid jail and ever have a chance of making something of my life going forward, because I really felt that I was 100% suicidal at the time, I knew that I needed to sort of not only clean up, but I needed to demonstrate that I'd changed, and so I started doing drug tests every week voluntarily. And I'd go see this lady who I know really well, because I've been to her office about 200 times to do a drug test. And at the start, I was doing them every week, and I was dabbling a little bit. And then, I knew I had it. And then you couldn't rely on it to sort of prop you up, because you couldn't prop up if you had to do a drug test a day or two later. And so what ended up really helping me the most was that I voluntarily declared to the Law Society and to the guys that I was working with and everyone else that I was going to do two tests a week. And that meant there was just no chance. You couldn't possibly sort of have a test, then get on, be clean for the next test. I increased the test,
times.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a motivation thing to you to go,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, I've got a test. I can't fuck it. If I fuck it up, then, the rest is all useless.
But the real motivation for me to truly get better was I had a relapse period, and my mum was staying down with me in a house that I was renting with my kids, and I relapsed with my ex-partner, and I didn't come home. She was expecting me home the night before, and I never got home till sort of lunchtime. I turned up, looked like I'd been hit by the ice truck or whatever, and that was kind of the, okay, here is your opportunity to keep us in your life. If you don't do this, we're going to, you won't ever see us again, blah, blah, blah. And that was the real full, and that was the kind of the lowest of the low points that I got to, because my mum and dad have just been amazingly supportive of me. And I got to that point, and that was really the mental turning point for me. And then I started seeing a psychiatrist that I continue to see to this day. I only see him every few months now to check in on him, but for him to check in on me. And that was that low point, and that was what it took,
Were you having any like schizophrenic episodes or episodes where you were seeing things or paranoia or imagining things, and what were they?
Yeah, there's absolute truth to all of this sort of psychosis business around ice. I didn't have a lot of it, but I can remember, and it's funny because we sort of make jokes about, you'll see somebody standing at the blinds and looking up the street and trying to work out whether that light that's up the street, is that light moved? Is that light there? And you'd have these ongoing conversations about a street light that's been there the whole time. But I've been in situations where I could hear people walking in the roof, and I 100% could hear it. Now, it may have been the police changing the surveillance stuff over or something, I don't know, but you could hear voices and you could hear what they said. It's as clear as a bell. They said it. There's no question. it really plays tricks with you.
So, but there's actually no one there.
No, there's no one there talking, but you would 100% swear you can hear exactly what you can hear.
So your brain is almost getting, probably, I don't know if this is probably like a scientific explanation for it, but it may be getting things you've heard at a past time that your brain somehow recorded, and then they're replaying it. Your brain's just shattered to pieces, and it doesn't really know what's going on.
You're just smashing your brain. You know what I mean? It's so bad for you.
Yeah.
And you have extended periods without sleep, which is bad enough for anybody. I mean, I know of young guys I know that went over a week without sleeping, 2 weeks without sleeping at all because of this.
Well, that alone is going to cause schizophrenic thinking, let alone a drug that'll also induce it. So I can't imagine what's going through. So when you said you went through that suicidal period, sort of once it's all come crushing down.
Yep.
I don't know, this is probably tough to talk about, but I think it's an important subject as well. You said you really were considering taking your own life.
I mean, I didn't actually sort of action it, but it was like...
How far were you? Were you figuring out how you would do it if you were going to?
I was sort of... I think when you're at that low point in your life, and I mean, a lot of people have been there, when you're at that low point in your life, you do start thinking, shit, I wish I'd get hit by a bus, or, I wouldn't it be good if, this or that, or fuck, I should just go and, stick a fucking hose in the car, or, you know what I mean? But I would never have done it. I mean, it's just something that comes to your mind, you're thinking about it, but I don't think I was ever a serious risk of actually doing it.
What about the ones that do?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's impossible to know who does and who's going to and who isn't going to. I mean, I had a young guy that I knew really well, who was a great bloke, and he took his life a few months ago. And again, it's sort of like every time it happens, that'd be the last guy you'd think would do that.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that disguise it the best.
Yeah.
Do you ever have those periods now where you have not a... Do you notice any long-term effects? Is there any time where you'll notice yourself get into that little bit of a paranoid state or something, and then you sort of snap out of it? Or
I could remember, you sort of when your brain's an amazing thing, and your body's an amazing thing in its ability to recover. And I know that it took me probably at least a year, and I've spoken to other young people that have kicked this drug and stayed off it long term, and I think you're still improving after a year. You're still getting better. It takes a long time to come good. I don't know. Maybe I don't know whether I'm as crazy as I am because I was on that for that period of time. I doubt it. I think I've always been a bit mad, but I don't think that there's any effect of it now. For me, I think it's sort of it's as if it didn't happen now.
Right. So your kids as well. Like, I mean, you've been very lucky to, I got to meet them the other day, and they're smart, intelligent. They've lived through a lot.
Yeah.
They've seen their mother and their father live through, crystal meth addiction. I mean, statistically, and from what I've seen personally, these are the kids that end up taking the real grunt of the entire thing, because they've seen it themselves, and then they fall into it themselves, and they haven't had parents that have been able to teach them coping mechanisms, so then they just fall flat on their ass. And So, how did they get through it, and why do you think they're so sane now?
I've got 5 kids, and I think you met the 2 little ones, and you met my eldest.
Yeah.
So I've got three daughters with my first partner, and then a son and a daughter with my second.
Yeah.
So the 3 older ones, it was really tough on them. There was a fair bit of news coverage around my meteoric fall from grace. There was articles in the Courier Mail about, gets this much money one day, drug dealer the next, and it really was a story. And I mean, if you looked at it and you said, well, hang on, this bloke sold his business here for all this money. It wasn't all my money, but a third of it. And then here we are 18 months later, he gets charged with this, very serious offending. What a greedy prick. And, there was a lot of sort of, and that was the way that the story was portrayed. How much is enough, you greedy prick? Now you're going to be a drug dealer and make money out of that. And once the truth all came out, it was obvious that was never I never had any intention, or otherwise I would have gone to jail, I think. But my daughters, I'm amazed. They got a lot of teasing, and a lot of kids, at school Googling me and who's this and who's that, and to my elder daughters. But I'm amazed and immensely proud as to how they dealt with it, and I think particularly the three older ones, it's really shaped who they are. Their ability to deal with that, and that's resilience.
Have you apologised to them for putting them through that?
Not formally, but they know. Actually, it's a good question, but I suppose I never actually sat down.
Are you embarrassed?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed about it, but at the end of the day, I'm also very open about it, because
yes,
I think that right now, listening to this, there's families and there's lots of people who are affected by what goes on, and I would like to hope that, if anything, people say, well, shit, you can sort of come out the other end and life can go on.
Yeah, I know. If anyone's watching this now that have watched our last episode in regards to crystal meth with Sam, did you see that one?
No.
No, okay.
Sorry, I did. I watched all your... I watch all your...
Do you really?
No.
That's all right. I hadn't seen one of your videos until after we interviewed you. But anyway, 19 million people might have seen it, but I certainly wasn't one of them. Now, it really hurt me, so I had to come back with something fucking cruel. We had Sam on, and Sam had emailed us, just sort of saying that he was running a business in Fortitude Valley and everything was going good, and he had a similar thing where he was working so much that he started to use it because there were people around him that started to use it. In those first few months, killing it, everything's going great, and then it just all goes down the shitter. And I didn't know at the time, I thought that this was going to be a happy ending story, and that, he's been to jail, been to rehab, now he's off it, and you can do it too. And we got to the very end and we found out that he'd only just got kicked out of rehab about a week or two prior, and he'd used again a few days before the interview. So that was sort of shocking, and I think it was shocking for a lot of people that are watching. Update on Sam, I have got the chance to speak to him, and he's doing a lot better now, and I think he's out in the Northern Territory. And I think for him, from what I saw, not a professional, don't know anything, but it was an environmental thing, and it seemed like he needed to get totally out of his environment and his friendship groups and everything that were the influences on that. But for you, coming out of it, that first year that you're out of it, or maybe even those first few months where, since the last time you used, obviously you said you relapsed a couple of times, but from that very, very, very last time that you went, all right, this is it now, what is that like? What are the symptoms that you're going through? You're sweating in your sleep. Is it excruciating?
No, it's different to that. As I understand it, when it comes to methamphetamine, there isn't a physical dependence like there is with cigarettes or with heroin.
Yep.
Okay, so I know people that have gotten off heroin, and apparently for all you understand, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
You don't have that. If somebody gets off ice, what'll happen is they'll just sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. Because your body just says, oh, thank Christ, I'm getting a break, so you just sleep for ages. And I think when I first really broke it, I went up to my mum and dad's, and because a lot of things happen all at one time. I sort of had these charges, these life-changing charges that I thought were going to be basically the end for me, and then I had all the embarrassment, the public shaming in the paper, having to tell my family, who never knew at any stage that I'd ever even touched the stuff. They knew that it was around, but they didn't know I was ever involved in it. So it just was just like this perfect storm of shit that I just had to face all in one hit. And it's things like that as to when you really appreciate what the value is. It happened just before school holidays, and I had to sort of deal with all that. Take my kids. We went up to my mum and dad's at Toowoomba. And I just slept for days and days and days, and I was the worst, but it was so good to have their support.
How old were you at that point?
42.
Right. So that's a big, probably again, that's part of that shitstorm. But to rock up to mum and dad's place at 42, going, I'm fucked. Like, can you look after me again now?
Hello, here we go again.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing, because basically what happened was, when the police came and raided my house, it was early on a Tuesday morning. I had to go to court for somebody that morning. I was supposed to be doing a court case, and there's 20 police cars in the front yard, and the neighbour, and the next door neighbour, one of the kids that lived next door to us, went to school with my daughters, and it all got back, and and my dad came down from Toowoomba like, what the hell, thought somebody had been killed at the place or whatever.
Yeah.
Where's Nigel? Oh, he had to go to, I was in the watch house in the city getting processed, and then it was like, shit, how do I tell these people,
What's going on when you're sitting there?
Oh, that was special, yeah.
Yeah?
No, it was I didn't know. The funny thing about the day I got arrested was that I thought they were there to take Craig, and I sort of thought, oh, well, kind of, okay, oh, well, that's the end of that run. He's gone then, sort of good.
Was he staying there at the time?
He was living there in the house. We had a massive big house, and he was living down one end of it. So anyway, how that happened is a whole nother story. But, and basically... I was sitting there, and the police, gave me all this paperwork. So I'm flicking through one. There's a big list of names, all about a conspiracy to import this drug. My name wasn't on it. Oh, sweet, boom. And then I'm sitting there, and I didn't think. I just thought, oh well, I have to wait for these guys to leave, and then I can get going. And then it was like, oh no, you're coming too. And I'm what? And oh, you're getting charged. And then I read the other warrant that had my name on it for trafficking. I thought my life was going to end. Yeah, it was a sickening feeling. Anyway, so then we got in the back of the car into town, got processed, fingerprint, swabbed you, put you in a cell, wait to go up, had to get bail.
How much is that?
No, there's no money bail. It was just own undertaking. It depends, what your personal circumstances are and so forth. And I had assets and ties to the community, and it wasn't opposed. And then basically I was and then that started this bloody period that went on and on and on and on of between then and when I finally ended up in the Supreme Court in April 2015.
How does something like that end up in the Supreme Court? That sounds pretty.
Because it was trafficking.
Right.
So because I was charged with trafficking and it carries a 25-year sentence, it's a Supreme Court. So you have in the Supreme Court, you typically have murder and big drug cases.
Fuck me dead. All right, so you could have been locked up with a bunch of murderers and stuff like that. If you were to go to jail, you'd be thrown in with all them. Yeah, all right. So, and okay, well, now this period's all over.
Yep.
And now, are you able to bring up one of the videos, I suppose? Let's do...
no, not that one.
Do you want to do the one on Facebook, the one that got the 18 million views?
19.
Not 90. 19. Oh, okay.
I'm joking. Yep. On my channel. There's Justin.
Kids versus... Is it the first one?
Yeah,
Dad versus Kids prank war.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one, 220.
Only 1,000 on YouTube. So it starts off quite, just wetting the kids before school.
Some beautiful acting here.
It is all acting.
Yeah.
So why do you think cunts are so fucking gullible?
I know. Oh, I find it amazing when people are like, oh, this is staged, and like...
Of course it fucking is.
Like, oh no, I've normally got somebody filming me all the time.
I mean, was that hot though?
Yeah.
I mean, that one didn't look staged, but was it?
No, it wasn't staged. But that one got the most comments about that was, oh, I hope they picked up the cop, which we did.
Ah, fuck, some cunts are fucking... Now, this one, I'm thinking, you're in a suit.
Yeah, which is unusual.
Yeah.
That's staged.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't. That wasn't. Did that hurt?
No.
You need an Oscar.
Pull the clip.
Your son needs an Oscar for this one.
Blimey. It's good though, eh? I thought it was a nice haircut.
How long did his hair stay like that for?
Oh, we cut the rest off.
Yeah, you'd have to.
This is my favourite.
Oh, fuck, he's throwing a fucking saucepan at you. Fuck me dead. There's a beer on your table there.
Yeah. Back in the drinking day. I was drinking before Christmas.
Oh, that's right.
I only
Okay.
stopped on
And
30th.
Yeah. So you said, this is what we spoke about the other day. So
Yeah.
you were back on the drinking train again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just, you mentioned the other day when we saw you for the first time that you're like, oh, I haven't been drinking. I'm off drinking. I haven't drunk all year. And then it hit me. I was like, it's the 10th day of January. You've only been off it for a little bit.
No, well, I had...
How long were you off it before that?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. And
I
then
didn't
what was...
touch a single drop.
And then what day did you touch it?
I don't
December
remember the
what?
exact date, but it's mate. You said before something about with Sam, and it was people, and in the Narcotics Anonymous sort of doctrine or vernacular or whatever you call it, they talk about people, place, things. So it's it'll be something to do with the people you're with.
Where
something
you
will
are.
trigger you to start again. And look, even though I gave up for 2.5 years and I felt fantastic and all of the rest of it, I still never really considered myself an alcoholic, but I think I was deluded. I think clearly I am.
Yep.
And I sort of, and again, it's a little bit like, so for me, I just completely stopped drinking altogether. Just decided one morning, that's it, I'm not ever going to drink again. And I went 2.5 years without ever touching it. And then I got to that period, and everything was going great, and I felt great. And the main reason that I choose not to drink is because it plays fucking havoc with my anxiety and my depression and stuff. So if I don't drink, I feel good all the time.
Right.
And
So serotonin,
yeah.
I mean, I drank, fucking had some wine on the weekend with a friend, and then I came in here on Sunday to do some work, and that day I'm sitting there, I'm like, fuck, I'm on edge all day, and I'm sitting there going, well, it's because I fucking
hit the piss.
Hit the piss, and had a bunch of serotonin and dopamine, fucking having a great time, and then all of a sudden I've woke up going, I'm depleted and I've got nothing in me. So, what was it in December that you started again?
No. It was look, I don't remember the exact date, but I've been drinking. I had been drinking for probably about 6 months.
All right. Okay. So, do you think, because you've also been making or been involved in these internet videos in the last 6 months as well?
Yes, during that period.
Do you think it is beneficial to be hanging out with, I suppose, a bunch of young, reckless people that are doing reckless things, jumping off bridges, and obviously it's all for the videos and stuff like that. But to be able to get the gusto to go and do something like that, you have to be somewhat reckless anyway. Do you think that can maybe influence that behaviour, or in some way be detrimental?
I don't need it. I mean, some people.
But you do it. You can't say you don't need it if you're putting yourself in that world.
What, the drinking?
I just mean in general, like, these people have reckless behaviour and
but
tendencies.
For example, like Jackson probably, I think last year, drank 2 or 3 times in the whole year. No drugs, 2 or 3 times drinking. It's not a drinking culture.
Yeah, I know, but he's also forcing himself to vomit on his friends and doing shit like that, or jumping on whatever the fucking crazy shit that he does, and it's for videos and stuff like that. But like I said, whether it's drinking or not, there's these people are throwing darts at one another and or do whatever the fuck you want.
I'm like that. I mean, my attitude is like, I did one video where I got really badly hurt.
What was that?
Well, it was about a panda. We just came up with this idea about me running around the streets in a panda head and Luke Irwin and Kyron Dryden tackling me. And it was just, we called it like, it's not on there. We called it like Shots on Panda. It was just
Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook.
Still on there?
On Kyron's page. It was just a stupid video
just
we
type in
made.
Kyron Panda.
Yeah. Anyway, and we made that video, and I got smashed. And then I just sort of thought, I'm not going to do videos where you have to get hurt to get likes. I'm not going to bother. I don't need to.
I know, but I want to see it now. No, Just go on Google,
Kyron, Kyron. Yeah, Dryden, top one.
Maybe Panda.
Yeah, there you are.
Just got in a camera for me with Luke and
This-
the whole time being here. What's that?
And that's you in the nut with a panda head on. Oh,
Yeah, that's me in the panda head.
Alright guys, we're down here. Alright guys, we're down here at Hey, what the pedophile panda?
are you in a G-string?
No, just undies pulled up.
Mate, don't start. What the fuck is that? It's like a panda.
Oh,
So that's the panda video. And I just, after that, oh, here, this was the,
Panda boy's about to train about an hour. We're gonna
is this a bad one?
no, it's all good.
Get the fuck off the grass!
Tag 2 friends. Fuck me. So, that looks painful.
Yeah, that
not-
was
not
that was
something-
the only painful video that I've done, and it didn't get a good result, and I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna do that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
that's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, do you think that they took advantage of you by?
no, it was still a bit of fun, you know.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, obviously, as you can see, there's a plethora of shit that you guys are doing these vlogs now.
Yeah.
And you're a part of this Jackson O'Doherty's vlog series.
Yep.
Which, we'll have a look at one of them and then go into where you're going with
Yeah.
that and what you want to do with it. But it's very what would you relate it to? Like Jackass, Dudson-esque, Bam
well,
Margera.
look, when we first spoke about it,
What's the wildest one, by the way? Do you think?
the one that lighting Dad's head on fire, but it's probably age restricted.
That's all right.
Yeah. Are you 18?
Oh, I think so.
Just go back.
Just go back
Just
and
do
open-
another one.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's
Did
not.
they light your
they're
head
not-
up?
They're only about me to the tune of 5%. So just watch the silly salmon gone wrong one. Huh. This is the one they put up last night. Goes on for 10 minutes. So
I know I won't watch the whole thing, but
Luke 23 over here. 60 million 7 for the original silly salmon.
My friends are dead. All my friends are dead. It's a dodo bird. To why? I know. There's only, he must be the last one. Most of my friends are dead. So he's an old guy. Well, I wouldn't say that. All of my friends are end tables. End tables.
Another quick kiss before we go, Nigel. Fuck me, that's weird.
you did it. Yeah. All right, so you're
Yeah.
involved in that now. What do they want to do with this show? Do they want to sell it to a network or
I think, well, see how it goes.
how
you
many
know,
views
but
are they getting, Connor?
That one last night's had 90,000 views. That's the most successful of the series.
Yeah,
so
in a
far.
short amount of time. Yeah, and how many subscribers? 29,000, 1,700 and yeah, what is it? 1,700. Go to the comments. I'm interested to see. Only 46 downvotes.
1,700. That's been the biggest. It's got a lot of comments because in the body of it, Luke Irwin says, you know, where do you want us to come and do it next?
Right.
So everyone's
okay.
like,
So there's
do it here, do it here, do it here.
That's how it works. Yeah. Jesus Christ, that one clip. But yeah, okay. So it's all.
So basically,
how do you fit into this?
Well, the concept of the show is basically that it's a day in the life of Jackson O'Doherty and his mates. And so there's different people that are in different vlogs. You know, sometimes Shami and Jackson will spend a lot of time together in our vlog. Then you won't see Shami for a few vlogs. Then he'll be back in. Luke will come in. And basically I just play like this old guy in it, you know, and people sort of seem to like that there's this random old guy who Jackson calls his dad. And, you know, we've done some videos together and there's a lot more videos that he and I have done together that are coming out. And so I just enjoy being part of it.
There's something that creeps me out about it though.
In what way?
The dad-son fucking weird shit. It's just something that I think me and Connor agree. We watched it before and go, there's just something fucking, ugh, I don't know.
Righto.
not my cup of tea. But
But you know, that video that we put up.
is it meant to be like sexual?
What?
Like weirdly sexual?
What, that Jackson and I have
Yeah.
chemistry?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Is that part? So that's just real?
I don't know. I hadn't really noticed. You're the first person that's commented it.
Really? Do you think so, Connor?
Oh, fuck off,
all right.
Connor. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. The sex tape will be out on fucking Jackson's vlog soon. That'll be what I fucked my dad and set his hair on fire.
Silly salmon.
Yeah, silly salmon with dad. Fishy. So anyway, so that's where you're going with that. Now, you're also doing your own stuff. You've got,
Yep.
100,000 followers on your Facebook page.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, yep. about
Now,
100.
are they actually 100,000 followers?
Yeah, there's 110.
110?
Yeah.
You actually got that, or is that a page that you got from somewhere else?
No, that's my page.
That's your page.
Yeah, yeah.
And it started on 0.
Yeah, it started when I put the Dad v Kid prank video up. It had
Yeah.
2,000 followers, and it went to about
100,000
Yeah, it
from
went
that.
to 110 in a
All
week.
right, yeah. Okay, well, good on you. then.
Australia's my 12th biggest country.
What's the number one?
Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah. English. I think English is my 4th biggest language. That video was reasonably successful in Australia, but it went nuts in Latin America.
They do. Like, I notice with a lot of these prank style videos and stuff that Jackson, Shami, and all these people are doing, they're accessible to anyone from
Yeah.
anywhere. And I know that a lot of their strategy as well is to not include as much, not include the English language enough that you need to rely on it to understand the video, if you get what I
Yeah,
mean. So a lot of
yeah.
it will be playful music in the background, those sort of
Yeah.
sketch type things. You've also done sketches with Jackson and stuff
Yep.
like that. So it's not just the pranks, it's the sketches.
Yep.
But it's this whole world that you're now involved in
Yeah.
that, I've probably done a fucking extremely lackluster job of trying to show it on video and whatnot. But it's a very broad thing. So when did you decide that you were going to go and make videos and make a Facebook page, like
Yeah.
into that
Well,
world?
up until it all sort of started out when we started Logan Law, which was about August 2014. So in the, with this court case looming large, I'd lost my job. I'd been in the press. I was getting bad press. I was working for a mate of mine. That didn't work out because it was just, I just became too embarrassing to employ, basically.
Yep.
And then what happened was we started Logan Law. A young friend of mine and I, we started that business. We started it from nothing, and the only way that we were really able to get any sort of reach or create any sort of impact into the marketing was through Facebook. And the thing that had changed between when I left Trilby Misso, the Facebook and social media really didn't play any part in what we did marketing-wise in those days.
Television still was king back then.
Television and phone books, believe it or not. Like we were spending $1 million a year on telephone books. And I don't mean inside them, I mean on the covers of them, It was crazy. I don't even think you could find a phone book now. But anyway.
No, you can. And they're still making a shitload of money. Yeah, I know some dude, just wild, just a side story, but there's some dude that still runs his business selling these phone books because, believe it or not, there's still 60 and 70-year-olds that aren't fucking dead yet that still
looking for their book.
want to use it. And there's companies out there that still benefit from it. So
when Logan Law really sort of started because a couple of mates of mine and I started a little Facebook group, and it was really done just to get reach so we could sort of find claims, find accident cases and stuff like that. And then it sort of evolved from that into a very small business, and then it grew from there. And it was very much driven by Facebook and Facebook network and all of that. And then we started sort of building, and we decided that we wanted to be, the premier Facebook legal firm. And I think we achieved that. And then I met Shami through a charity that I was involved in, and through Shami I met Jacob, his sort of camera guy that he was working with. And then he and I made videos for Logan Law, which were the sort of, living large in Logan, cruise around the streets, meeting people, handing out T-shirts, videoing some funny engagements with the people and all the rest of it. And they were very popular and successful. And I just sort of got the taste for it, and then I sort of did a video which we called Logan's Got Talent. Do you have the L factor? And we got and that was the time I met Justin Ryan, and I'd never even heard of Justin Ryan. And Jacob said, "I've got this kid I'm going to bring along as a special guest. He can perform at the
special guest, all right.
Special. He can perform at the show for us, you know." And he came along, and then we put it up on Facebook, and it went just nuts. It went crazy because, wow, he's back. And, you know, I didn't, like I said, I'd not met him and I didn't know much about him. And I've since become friends with Justin through that, and I've stayed in contact with him. Met Jamie Zhu, met Kyron, met Jackson, and we just sort of hit it off, not, you know, like you're suggesting, but just as mates, father-son sort of stuff. And anyway, and hey.
Oh, nothing. I just was wanting to kill myself. But anyway.
anyway, and then I went down to watch Kyron fight in November last year in Newcastle.
Yep.
Met Jackson, and he said, "Oh, do you want to be in this vlog series with us?" And I said, "Yeah, righto, sweet." So next thing I know, I'm sort of in the vlog series. We're making videos together, and away we go.
And now you're in the midst of this world now.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a community of them, and
Yeah.
they're getting a lot of views. And I think the update there.
Thanks, Connor.
I think the interesting thing about how these videos work and why they go so viral as well, and I don't think many people understand how it actually works behind the scenes, because it's not as simple as Josh or Jackson uploads a video to his page and it's on his page only, and then, oh, look, it just goes so viral from his page. Like, there's people out there that run lots of pages, and they're able to seed it through their own networks, and they seed it through each other, and you can cross-promote and cross-post videos to make it look like you're posting it, but it originally goes back to... So, you know, I'm guessing that's probably what's happened with the kid prank war thing, is it's been seeded out through a bunch of other pages, and those views have been ticked up as well because...
Yeah, no,
you know,
that one was
page.
just pretty much just as it was. Like, I shared it into a couple of groups.
Yeah.
Jackson didn't share it. I didn't ask him to, but, you know, it was not really his
yeah. But I mean, there's a community of people
there is
that are
definitely a
helping each
community
other
helping,
out.
yeah, there's no doubt
and
about
that's
that.
great. That's the smart way to go about it.
Yeah.
You can piss and moan about you know, you're not getting enough views or whatever, but that's the game. That's how it works. But it is interesting that it exists, and it's not as black and white as what people assume it to be.
Yeah.
So going forward, you know, aspirations for the future and what maybe the next 12 months holds for you in regards to this internet world.
Yeah.
What would you like that to be?
I'm sort of starting. I'm really trying. I'm setting up a business where I find and place injured people throughout the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I've only ever focused on Queensland. So somebody comes to me, Nigel, you know, was in a car accident. Boom, put them into Logan Law, put them into a law firm, whatever the case may be. What I'm looking to do now is to basically build a network through the whole country where. You know, through the reach that we have to the people that we have through my channels, Kyron, Jackson, et cetera, you know, I want to sort of reach a lot of people and help people that have had, you know, accidents that they might otherwise not claim for, to get in touch with a good lawyer, you know, use a bit of collective bargaining so that I make sure that they get looked after properly, and that's the new business. And look, I'm going to stay involved in the Jackson O'Doherty vlogs because, you know, I think the way that it started for the first 8 episodes and the amount of reach and the support that it's getting as a brand new page, who knows where it'll take us.
Yep.
That's probably, you know, and we're going to increase the frequency of those vlogs. At the moment, there's 2 a week. We'll go to 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 a week.
Yep.
And, you know, I'd love to be a part of that going forward still. You know, we've got a lot of plans about we'll go and do this, we'll go and do that, we'll travel here, we'll travel there, we'll do this, we'll do that. From my own perspective, I want to still sort of make some videos just so that I build my own personal following, but it's not really life or death. You know, I haven't put another video out for a while, and I'm not sort of, you know, getting all anxious about it. You know, I get asked to do some videos with the boys and things like that, which I'll still do. So that's kind of where I'm at with it all.
Yeah. And, you know, you mentioned the other day, which I find quite interesting as well, is that, you know, you're not sure if this is maybe just one of your other addictive things where, you know, you did say that you're really into it now, you love what you're doing and you'll keep going, but there is that possibility that one morning you'll just wake up and go, all right, couldn't be fucked now. So you'll find that, or something else will come along and you'll go, ooh, you know, shiny new prize, let's go play with that one. So Nigel, what time are we on, Connor?
Around 6.
Yeah, so Nigel, you've had a hell of a story, and we've only been able to sort of delve into it just enough. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that I think are going to take a lot out of the story between your addiction and your success, and then I suppose the internet stuff is just this weird little fun thing that's thrown in the middle of your crazy fucking life. Dressing up in a fucking, you know,
panda head
with your knickers fucking wrapped up around your asshole, but it's a hell of a life. I'm sure there's going to be another one of these in 10 years' time, another interview where you'll have even more to share. But I'm sure people will take something from that journey, and I suppose that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for, you know, that crystal meth addiction as such. And is it something that you still fight with every day, waking up? Just addiction in general?
Yeah, addiction 100%. Yeah. But one thing I'd like to say is, you know, I have been approached because as my sort of profile has increased and people, you know, and I don't make any secrets about my history. You know, I've sort of helped families and try to sort of be there, and I'd like to continue to do that.
Yep.
You know, my goal is obviously I need to feed the 11 kids or whatever it is that I've got. So I need to have a day job, and that's the business with the claims. I want to do the social media stuff, but another area that I have a lot of interest in, and I've had conversations with QNADA, which is the Queensland Network of Alcohol and Drug Associations. I'd like to do some work with them, you know, about awareness, and I'm going to do a bit of public speaking and that. And I really would like to make that, you know, something that I stay involved with.
Yeah.
And use the profile for that.
I think, you know, I guess just from my clinical assessment of you would be that you, you know, you're very smart. You've done a lot of things. I think you're obviously, you know, this internet stuff is, we all have an ego of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, I've fucking got a show called The Josh Wade Show, so it doesn't get more fucking sucking my own cock than that. But, you know, you're also someone that needs, for you to live and feel good, you need to fuel that ego, and whether that's being in vlogs or doing your own videos and stuff like that, you like that. I feel like you getting involved in something like that will be able to maybe feed the two things by doing the public speaking and taking a more serious role, but still getting that...
The gags
and you know, for me personally, and I don't know if you might discover this in your time, because, you know, you're only new to this world.
Yeah.
You know, after a year or two, you may find that, you know, people saying, oh, this is funny, or you're a funny cunt, really might just seem like, I get it now. You know, you may just not fill the void anymore.
Yeah.
And for me personally, this show and getting to have conversations with people like you and people taking value from that is what is filling the void for me now. So you may find that in something else, or keep doing what you're doing. But either way, thank you so much for being so open and coming on the show and not avoiding anything. And it's great for me because I get to ask whatever, and I get to challenge some of your opinions, and I don't have to feel like a fucking cunt about doing it either, because you're able to answer it. So Nigel Munt on Facebook. What is it? Nigel Munt 01 Facebook.
No, just NIGLMUNT, no space.
No space, and that's facebook.com/that. Instagram.
Nigel_Munt.
Yep. And you got
Snapchat Nigel Munt, NIGLMUNT. Yeah. Hit me up on any.
And you're on. Just type in Nigel Munt on Google. Don't do Google. Do
That's
it
all
on
good.
YouTube or whatever.
All good.
Yeah. Anyway, Nigel, thanks for coming on the show.
Mate. Good on
and
you.
we'll see you fuckers next week.
Cheers, buddy.